Okay, welcome to another episode of Easy Artificial Intelligence, R.A.G. Now here I have pulled up a Jupyter notebook, and basically what we want to do here is introduce the database. Okay, so this is the next step on our journey to create a chat app with our own data. As we move along, we're going to find it's not convenient to stick everything in context every time. We're going to want to have a database, keep the database up to date, be able to use the database when we want to, and call out applicable documents that we need. So basically, same as last time, here we're going to introduce a LangChain retriever. This is something we could use with the QA chain to have the LLM know what we're talking about when we ask a question. So we're going to ask it something that initially it doesn't know anything about, and we'll feed in our data like we did before. But we are still not doing the similarity search here. If you have a bunch of diverse data, we'll do that in a different one. There's a bunch of diverse data in the database. You just want to pull out the similar items for your query. That we're not doing here. In this one, we're pulling out all the data. So what we feed in is what we pull out. So I'll go, as we go through this, very, very similar, and then we load in the data, and then we'll restart once the data is loaded. Let me take this off. This is some OBS thing. Okay, so we'll be back in a second. Okay, just as a refresher, we have a URL list. So if we go here, just the particular setup I'm using is I've got the 0005 to indicate this script, which is number 5. And I've got a list. Okay, here's a list of URLs I'm loading in. This is to do with R.A.G, retrieval augmented generation, which is a good test because at the time the LLM was created, it did not know about retrieval augmented generation. And then here's a list of questions I've got in the specified query on text. This takes, well, I've got a timeout in here, but this basically goes through each URL, retrieves the information, does a recursive character text splitting, depending on a chunk size that I've defined as a parameter, and a, let's do a view word wrap, and an overlap. Chunk size and an overlap. It then splits the text, and then for each, there's a max document parameter, just so we don't go over the max document, and then it flushes out the files, and in this case it puts the individual files into the output. You'll create a folder data files underscore output 005, and it will put the text chunk text files out there. All right, so that took 1 minute 24 seconds to run. We'll go down. Next section. Okay, there we got it. Okay, define the LLM. Now, in this case, basically, it does not yet know about our information. So here's the question in the field of artificial intelligence. What does the acronym R.A.G stand for? R.A.G stands for Rule-Based Artificial General Intelligence. Summarize R.A.G and what it was useful for. R.A.G, red, amber, green. Okay, so we could, this is proof positive. It doesn't know what we're talking about because it does not know anything about R.A.G at the time that this particular model was loaded. Okay, so now basically this is going to create loaders. So it'll create these loaders and then create a list of documents. Just this is basically like the last one. We're still very, very similar to the last one. You've got a list of documents. Each document has page content, and see if I could view this word wrap. Okay, oh, there we go. And okay, page content and metadata. Okay, let's scroll through this, see what's actually in here. Page content. Okay. Metadata with the source. Yeah, metadata and source. Okay, so that's your list of documents that's set up now for the next step. Okay, so here's Chroma. ChromaDB, I was going to touch on this earlier. ChromaDB is what we're going to be using for testing. It's really nice when you're working in Visual Studio Code, especially. You're doing everything locally. It allows you to set it up to test it. And we define a directory. Yeah, so we've defined a directory, which is this Chroma output. So it puts everything local. So it's got your SQL database right here in the folder we're working in. Another thing before I forget, just backing up a second, we're going to be using a virtual environment here. So if you don't know about virtual environments, VENV or Conda, if you don't know about virtual environments, Google that and become familiar with it. So when I go into my folder, I open a folder here in Visual Studio Code, the folder I've got the specific project in I'm going to be working with. And then I have my specific environment set up in there. So this is in a terminal window. I just because I hadn't pointed that out previously, you're going to want to have each project, you're going to want to have a specific environment set up for it. All right. So we can see here, this is the meat of what we're doing, is we're going to define a database, and we've got our all documents set up, which was that list I was just showing you before. The embedding function I pulled in earlier. Let me erase this long list here. Or just clear all outputs, okay, because we don't need this. So the embedding, let me go back up to where I was to show you the embedding. Okay, so here's the embedding function. Just a kind of a de facto embedding that we've got set up there. So the embedding is, as you've probably read or looked at, you've got the data actually gets stored in numerical format in the database as vector embeddings. So this, we're setting it up to understand how we want to store the data. We load the data, we make it a persistent database, and then we clear the database. So the point of this is to clear the database here, and then next we could reload the database as a test of loading it, clearing it, reloading it, and then we'll create this lang chain retriever. So this is just the syntax you use for retriever, which we're going to use momentarily. We could see here, Let's see if this works. This is logging that I have set up. All right, that's looking good. Here's just some references. Easy example, vector DB similarity search, which we'll look at another one. All right. Okay, so here's the meat of it here. We're going to be using this retrieval QA chain from LangChain and the load QA chain. Okay. So let's run this. So here's the question. In the field of artificial intelligence, what does the acronym R.A.G stand for? I was putting the question twice. I'm just putting these before the answer. I'm putting the right arrows, the greater than sign here, just to make it easier to see. So it does know now what we're talking about. So that's basically it. What we've done here is, to go through the flow, is we've loaded up a Chroma database. Chroma database is not really a production idea. It can be used for, I mean, I think you could use it for like a little small company, like a chat bot for internal use, but you wouldn't want to use it for customers. So where we're headed is for production, we'll use something like PostgreSQL, which has got a vector extension so that we can, there's a lot of solutions out there for vector database. MySQL, you can't even use MySQL, but you kind of have to jump through hoops. So just for a standard web app, what I'm going to do is use the PostgreSQL, Postgres, and we'll be using that to set up our app. So basically that is what I wanted to show you in this little session here. And there's like, this is helping me organize my thoughts, and if it's of any help to you, please leave me a comment or a like or something on there, so I know, hello out there, so I know people are looking at it. It probably seems a little bit redundant, but it's kind of my idea, is like, if you want something where it's included all in one video, there's other sources out there where the videos are like an hour. My idea is to try to just introduce one small concept at a time, which, even though there's some redundancy, I think is going to be a good way to kind of learn it. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.